arms work just as hard as our legs. Fire up your triceps.
Your hips are dipping, always the option to come down to the knee.
Not as a weakness, but as a sense of strength, something that's empowering.
Namaste.
Hey yogis, I am here today with some crow progression practices. So it's not necessarily just doing crow. I have a lot of videos that I've done in the past, if you want to go check those out on YouTube, of ways to help improve your crow. But these are like other things you can incorporate into your practice to help you build the muscles you need for crow. So instead of just practicing crow over and over and over until we finally get it, these are some other ways you can kind of throw some stuff into your practice to help you build those core muscles to eventually get your feet off the ground and fly in crow. I'm also going to include some things to help you advance your crow. So if you've already kind of mastered your crow, or not necessarily mastered, but you just feel comfortable with it, you want to add in some new stuff, this will be some new stuff for you to add in. So starting with good old-fashioned crow, if we're newer to it, we're going to take our hands, spread them really wide, the fingers really wide, hands about shoulder width distance apart. You're going to bend your elbows, look forward. If we're looking back, I can guarantee you, and people have challenged me on this, as soon as your feet start to lift up, you will tip forward, all right? Most likely into a somersault, okay? So not the end of the world if you do a somersault, but not really what we're going for. You can play with just hovering one foot at a time. For some people that throws them off balance, they're better off trying both feet at a time, but just getting used to that idea of bringing the weight into your hands. Now, if we are not quite at our crow, but we're trying to build up strength to get there, something you can do during your practice to help you build that strength for crow, or any other inversion really, if it's handstand or whatever else you're trying to do, is jumping to the top of your mat or floating. So you might hear me talk about it in my classes, or other teachers talk about it in theirs. You look forward, you bend your knees. This lower part of your abdomen, you really feel it activate, hug in and up. And then as you're ready, you pounce and you land as soft as you can at the top of your mat. So what do I mean pouncing, landing as soft as you can? You're using the core to get to the top of your mat. You're lifting up and then forward, as opposed to just jumping with your legs from point A to point B, landing with a thud, all right? And obviously I'm exaggerating a little bit. But you are more likely, the more soundlessly you land, the more you're using your core, okay? So practicing that engagement of hugging the belly in and up, looking ahead, landing really soft and light. I like to call them ninja frogs too. So you can use those for your crow. If you're wanting to make your crow a little more challenging, there's like a 50-50 chance that I'm actually going to nail this today, so we'll see. I'm sure it's lower than that since I'm on video. But if we feel pretty comfortable in our jumps and our crow, we can actually jump directly into our crow pose, okay? So if you're like me and maybe you haven't quite mastered that yet, you can just kind of cheat, jumping, and then putting your feet on the mat, and then coming up into your crow, okay? So you can combine that jump and the crow together until you get it really effortless. Didn't happen for me today, but that's why we call it practice, right? Also, from your crow, you can practice jumping back into a chaturanga or into down dog, or just practicing jumping back, all right? So that'll get you those muscles again in your low belly. If you're not quite to jumping back or jumping forward, blanket sliders. These are the best thing that I like to do to help train people who aren't quite at crow yet, but really, really, really want to get there as soon as they can. Take a towel or a blanket, get on some kind of hard surface, tile, wood, whatever it is, something that's slippery, slidey. Come into a high plank with your feet on the blanket, bring your knees up towards your triceps, and send your legs back. So this is that same muscle engagement as taking your knees up for crow, sending them back as you jump back, or jumping to the top of your mat. So those are all things that you can use. Now that I'm completely out of breath, I just have one more that I want to show you. So if we're pretty comfortable in our crow, but we're still trying to build core strength, crow taps are really fun. So from your crow, tapping your toes to the back of your wrists or your forearms. It'll also really challenge the balance and your center of gravity in your hands. So that's it for me today after a long day of filming. I think I'm out of breath and tired, and I hope that you enjoyed this little crow tutorial. Let me know what worked for you. If you have any other questions or maybe things that you like to do to build your core strength for crow, let me know, share them here, and check out my other videos if you haven't already. Have a great day. Namaste.